Welcome back to the show. This is RCS 2014 in Atlanta. This is our last day and our first interview for today with the man with two names, first names, Stephen James.
Hey, thank you. It's good to be here.
His pen name, Stephen James. I'm not going to ask him his first name. We'll see. We had him last time about licking the fruit.
The book. We ended up calling it "Flirting with the Forbidden," and but the original title was going to be "Licking the Fruit," and my publisher wasn't sure that they wanted to go with that.
I know that's not like that's like
I thought it was a great title.
It is like, what audience are we trying to reach against, Stephen?
Yeah, the director of the publishing company is like, no, I want to do a book called that, but they said no, people might get the wrong impression. I was like, it's about temptation, you never know.
Well, we're going to leave it like that. But now you had this book we're talking about today. It's Singularity. Before we jump into that, tell us about how did you get started in writing? And I mean, we're talking about 10 years and make you an overnight success. It's been a journey.
I started when I was a kid. I always liked telling stories, making up stories. My uncle would tell us stories as a kid, and so I kind of got addicted to storytelling. And then in the 90s, I went and got a master's degree in storytelling, which is kind of unique. There was only one college. In the 90s? Back in the 97, but there was only one college in the world that offered it, master's degree in storytelling. And so then I started to travel around and tell stories at churches and conferences, and then write stories. And so I had little kids, though, at the time, and I didn't want to be gone traveling all the time. So I thought, well, I'll write my stories instead of, tell them. And so that's how I got started writing. And then I guess my first novel came out about 8 years ago, and that was called The Pawn. Okay. And we may have talked about that when it came out. I can't remember if it was The Pawn, but... So I just started telling bigger and bigger stories until finally now I landed into telling novels.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
It's a neat journey.
And so that's been a career for you, right? I mean, this is what you do.
Yep.
I mean, because we have some writers that come in that they write, but they do other things as well.
Yeah, right. And then occasionally I speak at conferences. On the
that's
craft
part
of
of it.
writing.
Yeah,
it's all part of the package.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, you wrote a book about that too.
I did. Yeah.
What's that one titled?
Story Trumps Structure.
Now that's a lot of English teachers.
Yeah. It's how to write unforgettable fiction by breaking the rules. So all the stuff that people teach you, 3-act structure, I say no, you don't need 3 acts, and motifs and themes and everything. My whole goal is say, look, I don't care. No reader is picking up a book saying, gosh, I really hope there's 3 acts in this. They just want a good book.
Yeah.
They just want a good story. Yeah. So if you can break the rules and tell a better story, break the rules. So that's kind of what that book is. That was a fun book to write.
How was it received?
Oh, it's been.
I'm gonna need that copy too.
Yeah,
you can sign that one to me because I'm writing a fictional one. For stories I used to tell my kids when they were little. I used to write them down and tell them stories, but I just never did anything with it. And Whitaker picked it up.
And that's congratulations. That's fantastic. When my kids were growing up, I would do bedtime stories.
Okay.
And we never wrote any of them down. But we did it for years, probably a decade. At night, I would start telling the story, and then I would end and say, I'll tell you more tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Or I'd tell you the rest tomorrow, whatever. And then the next night I'd pick up. As you remember, we'd review what happened the night before, and then we'd start. And we probably did it 200-300 nights a year for over a decade. So there were all these thousands of stories that were told.
Wow.
That we never wrote any of them down. And it was almost like this private little world that my kids could grow up in. It's imaginary land of wizards and witches so that was a blast.
Oh wow! That's cool. And you remember, but then you were able to put that all together, or?
Well, the thing is, my kids are all now 2 are in college and one's in high school, so we don't gather on the bed and do bedtime stories anymore. But a couple weeks ago, they were like, "Daddy, tell us a story again." So we all gathered together on the bed, and I was like, "Okay," and I started telling the story, and it was just like old times. Just picked up,
awesome.
And we started telling the story and just making it up on the spot.
You didn't ever write that one?
No.
Man, that might be something.
No, never wrote that.
That might be something.
Yeah, it's just fun fantasy stuff.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Now this one right here, let me see it. I'll hold it up for you while you tell us.
All right.
It was finalist
last night for Christie Award.
And tell them what the Christie Award is for those that don't know.
It's an award in excellence for Christian novels. And
awesome.
Ted Decker won last night.
And what is Ted Decker's book about?
I think his book was called The Outlaw. I haven't read it, so I can't. But he ended up picking up the suspense, Christie, instead of me. So
now, have you won a Christie book?
Yeah, I've won 3 in the past, and so
awesome. My son, by the way, my son loves all his thrillers and suspense.
Thank you.
He loves them all. We're working on a package deal right now. So.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But that's good. And so.
But this is a new series. The other ones you've probably read are probably in the Patrick Bauer series, which is kind kind of based on chess piece titles, the pawn, the rook, the knight, opening moves, the king, queen. But this is a new series. It features an illusionist and escape artist named Jevin Banks.
Okay.
And they're kind of science thrillers that deal with conspiracies. And so in this, there's a conspiracy with the government. And there's a cartel trying to get a drone from Area 51. There's all these conspiracy stuff. So I got to go to Las Vegas to do research for this book.
They let you in Area 51?
Well, they didn't let me in Area 51, but I found some people that I could talk to.
Okay.
So
I'm sure you found a lot of people.
Yeah, so I found some information.
And let me tell you what they did in 1978.
But it was really fun to go and do research. So I met with some illusionists and some effects designers and came up with some effects for this book that have never been done before.
That's good.
And I said, so here's what I want to have happen. So I met with a guy who does effects designs for like David Copperfield and some of the big name people.
That's a big guy.
I said, here's what I want to do. And so he said, oh, here's how I would do it. So wrote it out, and we came up with ways to do effects that no one's ever done before.
How did they receive it? They were like, they're happy to help you and say, hey,
They were, yeah. It was
they're like, well, we don't want to give away our secrets.
Well, they didn't give away, I didn't ask them about any secrets for other, big tricks and stuff.
But they're able to help you.
But yeah, it was really fun, and so met with some illusionists, got backstage at a
Did you ever give them credit in your book?
Yeah, in the back of the book, got always in the
nice.
thanks section, like that.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
But this book was, so it's kind of a mystery, science, conspiracy thriller.
It's almost like a movie.
And, yeah, well, someday we hope.
Yeah, all right.
It'll be fun.
Well, optimal.
But, yeah, but it's real cinematic the way I write. It tends to be kind of real visual. I write, excuse me, yeah. So it's a real visual kind of cinematic feel and a fun story. And I remember I was working on it and I thought, Area 51, why not? So they got to sneak into Area 51 and find some information out about some unmanned drones. And one of the reviews of this book was like, you can't tell what of it is fiction and what's nonfiction because everything in here that I talk about technology-wise is either we're doing it or we're about to do it.
Wow.
With unmanned drones and thought control drones and stuff. It's either here or the Air Force is right now working on it. And so when people read the book, they said, "Is this?"
That's pretty current.
Yeah.
I mean, it is hard to say.
Yeah, when the book came out, people were already like, "Now, is this?" How much of this is actually happening out there?
How's the success been on this one?
It's been good. Yeah, it's been well received, and people have enjoyed it. I think. It's the second one in the series. Placebo came first. Singularity is the second one. And it's been neat because just in the last couple of weeks we've had 5 or 6 people who've just written us, when does the next Jevin Banks book come out? Which has been fun because for years it's been, when does the next Patrick Bowers book come out? He's the one with the, chess.
Yeah, my son has Placebo.
Oh, does he?
Yeah,
really?
he has that one.
Nice.
And he has
well, this will be
Rook,
good.
Did he have one called Rook or Bishop?
The Rook, maybe, the Bishop.
Yeah, I remember Rook. Yeah. So those are some good titles. And your audience, tell us about your audience. What kind of audience do you see buying the book?
Well, I tend to write sort of intelligent thrillers.
Okay.
So I don't really...
no wonder my son loves them.
Yeah.
Because he's like... Yeah. He said this is the only thing he can read. Because he's looked at, honestly, he's looked at other Christian novels, other Christian fiction, and other Christian suspense thriller. He said, this is the only one I can read that. This is the only one that keeps my attention.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's really...
He's 13, by the way.
Oh, that's really... That's fantastic. Wow. The books tend to be real kind of... for thinking people, a thriller for thinking people. In other words, I don't dumb them down, but they're not too. They're sort of like, I kind of think of like CSI meets 24.
Yeah,
so they're real fast paced, a lot of
drones,
action.
So it's been doing
I'm
drones.
telling you, man.
You timed it perfect.
I know.
He didn't even know that. He probably talked to the producers. This guy. No, but that's
wait a minute, what are they doing with drones?
Yeah, so that kind of goes on there. You can feed off of that.
Yeah, you never know. But they're for people who like thrillers, who like twists. I always have twists in my book.
Yeah.
There's always big twist at the end. So people who like suspense, who like their kind of white knuckle suspense, that's who I write the books for.
That's awesome. This sounds like something from 24. Now, where can they pick up the book?
Get it anywhere, online or go to a bookstore and they either
website?
have it or order it. StephenJames.net, Stephen with a V. So.
And you got a couple more? Just tell them real briefly.
Yeah,
on those.
The King came out last year.
Left.
This is one of the Patrick Bowers books, and the Checkmate will come out later this year. And then Blur just released, and this is for teens.
Okay.
It's a teen sort of detective mystery thriller, and where reality and fantasy kind of blur. And it's my first book with a quadruple twist ending.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
we got to see about that one too. Well, thank you so much for being on the air with us. We appreciate
thanks.
it.
It's great
And
to
then
be
give me
here.
your
Thanks.
website one more time.
StephenJames.net.
All right, God bless. We'll be back with another great guest.